everyone. I'm Nikki, the author.
And I'm Mina, the friend that's never read the book.
Welcome to Behind the Quill, the podcast that takes you on a behind-the-scenes journey into the minds of writers. Hosted by me, Nikki Willcome, and Mina Pro, this show dives deep into the creative process, revealing the stories, struggles, and secrets behind the pages.
Whether you're a writer yourself, a book lover, or just curious of how stories come to life, join Nikki and myself, Mina Pro, as we chat with authors, share experiences, and explore everything that goes into making magic with words.
In every episode, we'll be pulling back the curtain to reveal the highs, lows, and plot twists of the writing life. From the spark of inspiration to the final draft, no part of the process is off limits.
So grab your favorite pen, a cup of tea, and get ready for an intimate and candid look at what happens behind the quill.
Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us. This is the very first episode. So I suppose we should start by introducing ourselves. I'm Nikki Willcome, author of the Empyrean Odyssey series.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Witte, the friend of the author and host of In Studio with Mina Pro podcast. Today we'll be diving into Nikki's origins as a writer.
Before we do that though, I think we need some background on the origins of this podcast so the listeners know what they're getting into. So we've been friends for almost 10 years-ish, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so we met when Billy, my husband, surprised me with a date night at your studio. He had been taking ballroom dance lessons with you for a couple weeks.
Yeah, he came in 3 or 4 weeks before he finally brought you into the studio. And he had told me we needed to get him ready so he didn't look like a fool on your very first lesson. And this was something that you guys really wanted to do together.
Yes, I remember the date was so much fun. And we took a few more lessons after that. And let me tell you guys, we are terrible dancers. Me and Billy, not Mina. Mina's great. But me and Billy, we are terrible. But we had the best time doing it, and we laughed so much. So if you've never tried ballroom dance before, even if you think you can't dance, I highly recommend it. Go out and try it. You won't regret it.
With or without a partner, it's fine.
It's true.
Come dance with us and have lots of fun. So that's how we first met. Then it was a year or two after that, and we had our kids and we reconnected. Now our kids are the best of friends, and we live just about 5 minutes apart from each other.
Mm-hmm. And now we're at the time the podcast is born. So Mina, you originally had this idea for me because you are this awesome boss lady entrepreneur taking over the world, and I am 1 yurt away from living my best hermit life. I am the cliche hide behind my books kind of writer. And because you're my friend, you've taken over management and are getting me out of my comfort zone. You won't let me build my yurt just yet.
No, I mean, there's space in my backyard still for it, but you're right. I kind of turned into like momager mode on you. And Billy and I kept saying that you needed to step up so we could grow your books. So we pushed and pushed and pushed because we said you need to do a podcast. You need to connect more with your audience. So here we are with Behind the Quill.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we are here now. And I am so grateful for you that you're helping me with this because you're right. I do need to grow my books and put myself out there. So my first tip for my fellow writers out there, the ones that are terrified of doing something like this, like me, is get yourself somebody who won't let you hide behind your desk because your story deserves to be heard and fear shouldn't stop you from that.
Yep, someone to push you off the cliff.
Yes. Yep, with a smile. She is pushing me off the cliff with a smile. So with all that, I think I'm ready to get this thing started.
Let's do this. So, Nikki, where did it all begin for you?
So I've always loved reading, and fantasy and sci-fi in particular were big things in my house growing up. when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, that's when my nerddom went up a few notches. That's what you want to call it. Like, I had the bow and arrows. I learned how to write in Elvish. Like, I was fully invested in this world. And then I just started writing my own fan fiction for it. I found this website where people were writing their own stories about movies like Lord of the Rings, and I know my sister at the time was really big into the X-Files, so she was reading X-File fan fiction, and I'm like, you know what, I can do this too. Like, I could write my own. It will never, ever see the light of day, but
so you
it
went
is
like,
out there.
So you went like full-on nerd mode, and you decided that, well, what if my version of the story's better?
Maybe not better, but I just loved these characters so much that I wanted the stories to keep going.
You just didn't want it to end.
I didn't want it to end, yes.
So what was the moment that made you realize you really wanted to pursue writing as a serious thing?
Actually, I didn't think about pursuing it seriously until my sophomore year in college. I originally was majoring in environmental conservation. I wanted to go save all the dolphins and whales and coral reefs. But the ocean, is another thing that terrifies me.
I was going to say, Nikki in the ocean is not a thing.
I mean, you know this about me, but for everybody else, yes.
That was another pushing her off the cliff moment. We had to push her into the ocean.
Yes.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And yes, that's another story. Ocean and Nikki, another story. So I realized pretty quickly that wasn't going to pan out very well for me. So while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next with my life, I picked up a literature class because, again, I loved reading and English had been my favorite subject in high school, so why not? And this class was about monsters in literature.
Ooh, that sounds like lots of fun. So like werewolves and Dracula and things like that? Or
yes, like we started out
like
with
classic monsters?
The classics, yes. We started out with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and just went from there. So I went to UW-Madison, and this class was taught by Professor David Zimmerman, and I'll never forget this class because he was so engaging and it was so fun getting to deep dive into these stories. So I changed my major to English Lit and began scribbling down my own stories. I didn't know exactly how or if I could actually make a living doing this, but from that point, I knew that this was what I was supposed to be doing.
That's always so cool to find that moment in your life when you kind of discover that thing, that spark that you always want to do. At what point did you decide to take the leap and write for full time?
I don't know. As a mom, I have a little boy, he's 7. So I don't know as a mom if writing is ever a full-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was really lucky after our son Kip was born because Billy had just gotten this great opportunity to change careers and go from being a welder to a salesman. And it was full commission for him, which was really scary for us. But it meant that I was able to leave my job and come home and be a stay-at-home mom. And that was a big deal for us. And I'd never trade that time for anything. But I was also writing less than I was when I was working as a receptionist after college. But now that Kip's older and in school all day, now I feel like I can be more intentional and manage my writing time better.
Mm-hmm. As you know, Nikki and I both have children. So as you know, Nikki, it's a huge step when our babies are finally fully in school and we can turn around and focus more on our careers again. So I definitely get where you're coming from with finding that time now.
Yeah.
Now that it's not having a baby around the house.
Mm-hmm.
So taking that step must have come with its own set of challenges. What were some of like your biggest hurdles you would say you faced in becoming a full-time writer?
There were many, from finding time to write to dealing with self-doubt. Now, my biggest hurdle is being disciplined with the time I do have and not getting distracted.
Hashtag momager in the background.
Just got me on a schedule, folks. So just not getting distracted by, the mountain of laundry that needs to be done or the dogs wanting to go outside and play all the time. So I find that I work best when I give myself a schedule, or when you give me a schedule, you give me deadlines. Like, this needs to get done by this day.
That I email you.
Yes. So usually after school drop off, I give myself 2 hours to work out, clean up around the house, play with the dogs. But when 10 o'clock hits, I am at my desk, and that is writing time.
For those listening who might be parents and aspiring writers, what advice would you give to them for managing being a spouse, a parent, and a writer?
I would say if you have young kids, like toddlers that aren't in school yet, don't give up. Write when you can and give yourself a little extra grace, because we know what you're going through.
So I think that's a really good place for us to end this first episode with some wise words from N.L. Willcome.
Oh, goodness. Wise words. Yes.
Lastly, what can our listeners expect from us in the future with episodes from Behind the Quill?
So we're going to be exploring my writing process, things like character development, world building, and some behind-the-scenes stories. I have a few, plus more words of wisdom.
Very short words of wisdom.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. We are super excited to be going on this journey with all of you, and I'm so excited that we're starting this.
Me too. Thank you, Mina. I can't wait to connect with more readers and aspiring writers. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to listen. If you want to stay updated on new episodes, hit the follow button, and please go check out my girl Mina's podcast, In Studio with Mina Pro. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.